Akaran, an ordinary awkward boy who is obsessed with aliens, causing for him to always been the target of bullies. That is, until one day, the most popular girl in school unexpectedly stands up for him. But their strange encounter quickly turns into a questionable one when he mocks her belief in ghosts and she laughs off his alien obsession. To prove who's right, they each take on a dare. Akaran visits a haunted spot, while Momo heads to a known alien hotspot. But what started off as a petty argument awakens something neither of them were supposed to cross. As Momo's new boyfriend approaches her outside the school gate one morning, she is really disappointed because the first thing he does is ask for a loan. The pathetic loser asks to bang, man's right on business, and Momo has had enough and decides to call off their date with a roundhouse kick. However, because she is useless like yourself, the boyfriend says he's done with this and knocks her to the ground. A while later, Momo's friends try to console her, but she should have been happy that she got out of it, not pregnant. Momo's only attraction to him stemmed from her infatuation with her idol, Ken Takakura, and her belief that it would be good enough. Her friends tell her that guys like that doesn't exist no more and may as well give up on that. Later, she passes the hallways, depressed that she will never be able to date a man like Ken. However, she notices a boy in the class next to her who is being bullied severely and the bullies are planning to start throwing magnets at him. Momo steps in the way and sits next to the boy to stop them from bothering him and asks what he is reading. However, he couldn't get the right words since that was probably his first female interaction like yourself. They leave, and as soon as they no longer find him interesting, Momo gets up to stay depressed listening to her depressing sad story again. However, she is approached by the boy she just helped and says that he knows that she is in love. Momo tries to tell him she doesn't feel the same way about him, but he believes she is an occult fanatic like him. He shows her this magazine that contains a wealth of information about how aliens are real, birds are government drones, and the world is preparing for a space war. Basically the average weeb special pack. Momo seems uninterested and tries to leave, but the boy revealed to be named Akaran persists in trying to get her attention. Eventually, she snaps and mocks every aspect of his existence, including his industrial strength glasses, mop head, and strange weeb hobby. She then tells him never to speak to her again, but not before realizing that she might have been a little too harsh with him. She walks back and tries to talk to Akaran by telling him she believes ghosts exist. She was just trying to be relatable with a weeb. However, Akaran laughs at her, saying there is no such things as ghosts. She gets irritated at him, since he's the same one who believes aliens exist. However, Akaran corrects her, saying that while he believes in aliens from space and other strange phenomena, ghost belief is ridiculous. Momo tries to persuade Eren that her grandmother is a spirit medium and has personally witnessed an exorcism, but he refuses to believe her. Momo and Akaran decide to place a wager in which Momo promises to demonstrate the existence of spirits and Akaran makes a vow to prove the existence of aliens. However, her friends at this point just think she has lost it. Later that evening, Momo enters an old abandoned hospital and is really uneasy. However, Akaran claims that this is a popular spot for UFO sightings and that she will likely be abducted, but Akaran has never actually experienced it firsthand. Meanwhile, Akaran is acting on Momo's instructions and is heading towards an old abandoned tunnel. He's scared, but Momo assures him that he will almost certainly be attacked by a ghost if he enters, but he continues to maintain that ghosts don't exist. Therefore, he follows Momo's advice to keep quiet because, according to her online research, screaming will only enrage the ghosts. However, he can't help but notice that she keeps bringing up online sources, so he asks whether she has ever actually seen a ghost in person. Momo bluntly tells him that she hasn't, and Akaran becomes enraged because she is acting in precisely the same way as she had complained about a minute earlier. He questions how she can have such strong faith in the existence of ghosts when she has no proof. As she previously stated, Momo has lived with her spirit medium granny since she was a young girl because she was never given a chance to live with her parents. The room falls silent for a while, but Momo tells him not to take it so seriously because her family has always been hella weird. For instance, when Momo was younger, her grandma made her wear a charm bag and strike a silly pose every time she went to school. The other kids teased her for it, but what hurt the most was when the boy Momo liked at the time teased her for it as well. After that, Momo began to resent her grandma and think horrible things about her. Recently, she had stopped speaking to her altogether, but Momo would still become upset whenever someone made fun of her grandma. This realization made Momo realize that she wasn't angry at the kids for making fun of her, rather, she was angry because they were making fun of her grandma. Momo even enjoys the fact that her grandma is a spirit medium because it gives her a sense of specialness. Since her grandma has said that ghosts exist, Momo has come to believe that ghosts exist. Now that Momo has explained her reasoning, she wants to know why Akaran believes in aliens. Akaran dodges the question, claiming he has no special reason to like this stuff. Momo can't really argue with that, so she tells Akaran, and he becomes much more confident when speaking with her over the phone. Additionally, Akaran tells Momo that she is very easy to talk to. At that point, however, Akaran, happening to see unknown footsteps, turns around in horror and sees an elderly freaky woman who is requesting to eat his banana. I can assure you that someone out there is desperate enough to accept.
What did he say?
But that someone isn't Akaran, so he turns and starts running. In an attempt to calm him down, Momo tells him that running away is the last thing he should do in this circumstance, because if Turbo Granny outruns him, it will be over for him. Momo's call with him ends with a disturbing voice, and she knows that something must have happened to him. She attempts to run to go to the tunnel to save him, but not before she sees 3 figures standing in the hallway. Of course, she knows something is wrong, so she tries to flee but is quickly apprehended. A while later, she wakes up and discovers that she is strapped down in an alien chair. She asks to be released right away, but the aliens ignore her and start outlining their intentions. The aliens assure her there's no need to be afraid of them, but that's sort of hard to believe after they kidnapped her and tore all of her clothes. They use some technology to reproduce because their species only has men, which has rendered them more inbred than a Spanish royal family. They will use her body to study human reproduction. Momo is determined not to allow this to occur, but the aliens utilize mind control to prevent her from resisting. Moments later, Momo's phone starts ringing. An alien follows it over to investigate, and when it does, it gets stunned in the face. Then, someone emerges from the phone, followed by the rest of the boy, who is under the Turbo Granny curse. The alien is sent flying, and the Akaran starts apologizing to Momo for being clearly mistaken about ghosts and getting himself cursed. Momo would like to say, "I told you so," but first she's kinda struggling to even stay alive. The aliens are perplexed and wonder what kind of technology allowed Akaran to enter their spaceship through a phone. Although Akaran is attempting to hold it together, the curse eventually regains control of him and he now wants to eat their things.
Cut the show. I'm done.
However, he isn't the one they are questioning, thus they don't want him here. The aliens claim that they are the only ones permitted to engage in such inappropriate behavior, so they remove their Ken suits and get ready to battle using telekinesis. However, Akaran is moving too quickly for them to keep up with, so he closes the gap and approaches an alien before confusing it with its banana. He then pursues the other aliens, but this time, because he is moving in a straight line, the alien is able to blast it into a wall. Akaran yells at the alien to stop probing Momo, saying that if it wants to probe someone, it should be him. The alien is furious that Akaran would dare Chomp to eat his alien brother's bananas, but it doesn't want to spend any more time. He never had any friends as a child, so he reasoned that aliens might be open to making friends with him. He started studying the occult and would spend hours standing on the roof in the hopes of making contact with aliens, but they never did. This led him to believe that even aliens thought he was a loser, and the people in his immediate vicinity would constantly tease him for no reason at all. Momo was the first to defend him, though, and he will stop at nothing to protect her, even if it means turning into a monster. He is using the power of the Turbo Granny, but the alien is too cunning to see through him, so it swiftly double taps the room to take him out. The alien then returns to showing Momo that there is nothing she can do to stop it. But then she is taken back to the moment when her grandmother was trying to teach her about spiritual stuff and she was too embarrassed to try it at the time, so she ran off. The alien's telekinesis is no longer effective on her, so she uses her new power to roundhouse kick the alien so hard that it is sent flying out of the ship. Momo didn't think she would do that much damage, but now that the spaceship is sinking, she starts looking around for Akaran so they can get out of here. She would like to apologize to her grandma for her outburst back then. But at this point she has nothing to lose, so she tries performing the technique and to her amazement it actually works. But now that Turbo Granny has taken control of Akaran once more, he tries to attack Momo. Momo blocks his bite with her arm, and then she uses her powers to break the curse. At first, it appears as though she was successful because Turbo Granny now has an Akaran body, but the curse isn't lifted because Turbo Granny still has his thing, so if he wants it back, he will have to come take it from her in her tunnel. Turbo Granny then vanishes, leaving Momo and Akaran on the alien spaceship that is about to crash. However, Momo kicks a hole in the spaceship, and astonishingly, Momo and Akaran escape unscathed. Momo and Eren feel regret for everything that happened that night. But Momo now firmly believes in aliens, and Eren believes in ghosts. Having said that, they are unsure of what to do going forward because of Akaran's curse, which makes him go insane as soon as Momo stops using her powers on him. The only way for Akaran to break the curse is to defeat Turbo Granny, so he gets up and declares that he is going to the tunnel. Akaran starts to undress and tells Momo she can wear them home. but Momo tries to stop him, saying he will lose control if she isn't around. Akaran doesn't want to involve Momo because he feels responsible for how things turned out, and he doesn't really have a plan to defeat Turbo Granny on his own. But he's sure he will figure it out somehow. Momo, however, insists that he not leave her alone after everything they have just experienced, reminding him that he would be dead meat without her. Operation queries her on her desire to take a chance on herself to help someone like him. Momo's heart skipped a beat when she realized that, despite calling him Akaran the entire time, she didn't actually know his name. She asked, and to her shocking surprise, his real name is Ken Takakura. Momo has already made up her mind, so she walks over to him and tells him to put his clothes back on. However, he tells her to keep her close because he is way too embarrassed to talk to her like this. Despite Ken being cursed and having survived a close call with death, they still have enough energy to fool about. Momo calls Ken Akaran because she acts so frightened and helpless around males that look like Ken Takakura. Isn't that so demure of her? So, basically, for now Ken isn't allowed to use his own name because a hot girl said so and he goes along with it. While they walk back to civilization, Momo keeps teasing him on and the pressure builds up to the point Akaran ends up farting on her face. She looks at his outfit, a boxer and a shirt, and says that it's scarier than a ghost. Then, she invites him to her home for now. Anyways, when he gets to her house, Momo informs him he can remain till tonight since there are goblins and spirits that might hurt him. She also warns Akaran to use caution after mentioning how her grandma almost killed her previous partner. When Akaran enters the house, he surely has a bad feeling about it because as soon as he steps in, he is set ablaze by Rengoku, causing him to scream, and Momo, in a panic, uses her newfound abilities to toss him into a creek so he can just not be on fire anymore. He got an afro which seems very funny to Momo and she keeps laughing at him for a while. When Momo notices the ward on the pillar, she removes it to allow Akaran to get through. Having said that, you do realize that when Momo decides it will be acceptable to remove this barrier, some horrible things will happen, don't you? Yes, Momo and Akaran could be a tad foolish. Later on, Momo went to change and closed the door so of course she can change into her own clothes. But well, as soon as she closes the door, the beast runs wild. Akaran instantly transformed into his Turbo Grandma form. It's just a clever way of hinting that Momo needs to constantly meet Akaran to ensure that his powers are under control. Although it's a really smart show don't tell, these two are just so unbecoming. Momo reveals that Turbo Granny ate it and she wants to see it as she impolitely begs Akaran to show him his banana. As expected, his stuff has vanished from sight. But here's the twist, Akaran confides in us about why, despite the fact that this girl is technically making fun of him, he's remaining with her. This is his one chance to get to know Momo and, more importantly, become friends, so he doesn't want to blow it. The youngster had no one to help him when he needed it because he had been neglected for years. Because of this, he believes he shouldn't stay in touch with Momo after this incident. She is too wonderful, too unique, and too attractive. Essentially, he's constructing an explanation to shield himself from any form of rejection. This is a coping strategy for his insecurity. He feels that being a nerd diminishes him in the eyes of many people, including himself. Because Momo embodies everything he finds exceptional, to him, she is like an angel. All of Momo's traits, her confidence, nerdiness, strong morals, and unambiguous moral code, come together to form what you see in front of you. For someone like Akaran, that is absurd, in my opinion. These are the attributes that Akaran may already possess, but he is blind to them. Nonetheless, I believe Momo's response is sound. As Akaran teeters on the verge of further rejection or friendship, Momo tells him how much she detests his assumptions about her. Given that Akaran doesn't know much about her, it's unfair to her. Remember that she uses a strong word when she says it makes her disgusted. This makes sense as well because, as you may recall from the first scene, Momo became irritated due in part to Wad's presumption that she would expose herself simply because she was a Garu. She understands that by isolating himself from both people and the outside world, Akaran is essentially defending himself. Just consider this, a person with that kind of self-perception is unlikely to believe they are deserving of anything in life, much less a friend. It is self-defeating. What do they do then? Naturally, they attempt to murder one another. Even worse, Akaran refers to Momo as a skank, which is ludicrous and excessive. Like, Akaran, what the heck does that term even mean? Hi there, are you even aware of this? Then the doorbell rings, and it's not her grandmother ringing, but rather a malevolent spirit. After discovering that Momo made a mistake by removing the talisman, they go out the back in the hopes of returning it to its proper location. Things go terribly wrong and become totally encircled. They believe the black mist to be the cause of their slow death as Momo falls to her knees and blood spurts from her nostrils. Akaran experiences the same thing, as they square up against a massive monument. Momo and Akaran simultaneously sprint away from the monument. In the Dondan community, this picture is very beloved. But as it turns out, it is based on a true story, the Flatwoods Monster Tale. Investigate it. In order to effectively give Momo a boost when facing certain death, Awakens advises utilizing Momo's abilities to take control of his mind while allowing the Turbo Granny curse to take control of his body. In summary, it works, but it has the drawback that he always becomes depressed while he is in this state, which is sort of funny. Momo jumps in the middle of facing the Flatwoods monster because she finds it annoying when he puts himself down so much. This really ticks her off. He is depressed, after all, and Momo despises depressed people. Awakens bites off the 5 fingers on the Flatwoods monster's left hand with remarkable speed, but in the end, he gets thrown into a shed. Momo, being Momo, saves Awakens by throwing him from the shed. The Flatwoods monster then strikes a sumo posture and issues a challenge to fight Awakens in an odd turn of events. The amazing sequence of animation shows the alien with an organ hunger being instantly decimated at the knee. Momo even has a moment of brilliance when she fights the Flatwoods monster with one hand while controlling the curse with the other. She is tragically thrown into the wall at the entryway after getting caught. Sadly, Momo is the victim this time, but fortunately, Momo survives. She demonstrates that she is far tougher. She shows her determination to be there for Awakens when he needs her most by holding onto his curse even after coming dangerously close to death. Momo wants to defeat the monster on her own, which accounts for the other half of it. As this moment demonstrates in great detail, avoid upsetting Momo. The creature then attacks her again and again, striking her with its blows. But Momo, being clever, seemed to have a plan. She uses ESP to bring Awakens to her, where she catches and holds him while she replaces the talisman on the Torii, holding him like a priceless little baby boy. Everything gets back to normal, and I have to say, when Momo almost let the curse run wild again, I laughed aloud. Even after coming dangerously close to death, Momo and Awakens manage to locate the silver lining in this terrible situation with humor and wit. Momo tells Awakens that his new hair looks good, and she finds it appealing. Though modest, it expresses what they both cherish, the happiness that comes from friendship. But as the moment comes to a close, Momo faints, leaving Turbo Granny to take control of him and possibly even swallow Momo. In a live broadcast, a psychic named Santa Dodoria delivers a reading for a celebrity's profile, but is repeatedly corrected by him. Afterwards, the psychic hails a taxi to go home but chooses to walk the remaining distance, fearing the driver may be at risk if the journey continues. Before Turbo Granny could consume Momo, her grandmother arrives on time to stop the evil spirit by throwing a brick with a nail and a circle that sets Turbo Granny on fire. Following Momo's grandmother's challenge to a duel, Turbo Granny tries to attack her from behind. However, she burst into flames once again upon getting near the grandmother. Momo's grandmother then reveals that she has drawn a barrier with her bat to ward off evil spirits around herself, and that she has also created one around the evil spirit as well to trap her. Having been confined to one space, Turbo Granny is repeatedly beaten by Momo's grandmother with her bat and is set on fire every time she comes close to crossing the barrier. Though Turbo Granny warns Momo's grandmother that her intent to kill her will result in Awakens dying as well, the grandmother states that she will proceed regardless due to her trying to harm Momo is unforgivable. After Turbo Granny notices that a second drawn barrier is in place, Seiko places a nail within the circle, says farewell to the evil spirit, and erases the first drawn circle with her foot, setting off the evil spirit warding flames. Later, Momo awakens in her bed and walks down to the living room to find her grandmother engrossed in television. Concerned that Awakens might be in danger without her to suppress his curse, Momo inquires if her grandmother has seen him. She then becomes stunned to hear from her that she had vanquished the evil spirit earlier. Momo questions her grandmother for more details, being concerned about Awakens' well-being, but is reminded by her grandmother of when she accused her of being a sham spirit medium. After Momo gets down on her knees to apology for this incident, she is told by her grandmother to check the main shrine outside. Momo, concerned for Awakens, hurries to the shrine. Upon opening the doors to find him safe and sound and happy to see her alive, her relief turns into irritation, leading her to shut the doors on him, which left Awakens perplexed by her abrupt change of mood. Her grandmother then comes out to assure her that Awakens' curse is dormant within the shrine's confines and confesses to fabricating his demise to rile Momo and questions if she has feelings for him, to which she denies. After Momo reveals the emergence of her psychic abilities and Awakens' predicament, her grandmother cautions against engaging Turbo Granny, revealing that a while back she discovered that Turbo Granny has recently merged with an earthbound spirit within the tunnel, rendering her a powerful evil spirit that not even hope to confront. Despite her grandmother telling her to steer clear of Akaran, Momo insists on aiding him, as she believes it's what Ken Takakura would do. After briefly considering teasing her granddaughter by comparing Ken Takakura to the boy in the shrine, she agrees to let her face Turbo Granny and outline the strategy. She explains that Momo and Akaran must train in preparation to engage Turbo Granny in a game of tag as a way of drawing her out of Shono City and diminish her powers. Once alone, Akaran expresses remorse to Momo for appearing feeble against the Flatwoods monster and vows to improve himself. Momo reassures him of his bravery during the alien encounter and expresses her readiness to rescue him if necessary. Momo then prepares to grab Akaran a futon for him to sleep on and barley tea upon his request for some water. In the living room, Momo's grandmother views a television report revealing that Shoma, the celebrity she had performed clairvoyance for, has had his secrets exposed, confirming the grandmother's predictions. During their training, Momo sees Akaran's desperate need to use the bathroom but denies him permission, as she must always accompany him to suppress his curse. She then explains to her grandmother that the way her psychokinesis works is by latching onto auras visible to her and confesses she was stronger when her powers first emerged. Her grandmother then advises Momo to close her eyes and use her sense of touch to control Akaran's curse rather than her sense of sight. Momo attempts to do as she is instructed but fails when Turbo Granny's curse begins to possess Akaran. Unable to wait any longer, Akaran dashes to the bathroom with Momo and her grandmother in pursuit. As she suppresses the curse with the door open, much to Akaran's embarrassment, Momo learns from her grandmother that the full potential of her psychic powers remains untapped, and that she requires training to gradually harness it again. Suddenly, Momo sees her grandmother's nose bleeding and is horrified to discover Turbo Granny in the bathroom. Turbo Granny, speaking through Akaran, explains that her curse can kill anyone Akaran has laid eyes on and challenges Momo to confront her in the tunnel tonight or she'll start killing indiscriminately, as she refuses to have her train for her defeat. Once Turbo Granny departs, Momo becomes able to speak with her grandmother and Akaran again. Noticing her bleeding nose and ears and the burnt talisman on the wall, Momo's grandmother inquiries into Momo about the events that transpired. Before their departure for the tunnel, Momo's grandmother presents Momo and Akaran with garments designed to shield them from evil spirits and implores Momo to come back safely, holding her in a tight embrace and later praying to the gods to watch over the two. On the train ride to the tunnel, Momo seethes with anger towards Turbo Granny for previously harming her grandmother and vows retribution, while Akaran hides his face with his hands, embarrassed, most likely because of the fact that they are in public with such unusual outfits. Momo and Akaran hesitantly enter Turbo Granny's tunnel, strategizing their approach to confront the evil spirit. Momo expresses confidence that this battle will be less challenging compared to their previous encounter with the Flatwoods monster. However, they are taken aback to find a gigantic head of Turbo Granny obstructing both the entrance and exit of the tunnel. Momo attempts to attack the evil spirit using bats she controls with her psychic powers, only to witness Turbo Granny effortlessly destroy them with her mouth-like eyes. In a desperate move, Momo urges Akaran to utilize Turbo Granny's power. As Turbo Granny prepares to consume them from both sides, Momo recalls her grandmother's instructions to dare Turbo Granny to a game of tag to exploit her confidence in her speed. After declaring her challenge, Turbo Granny, feeling underestimated, halts her attack and accepts. The two quickly attempt to flee as Turbo Granny begins counting to 10 minutes to give them a head start. However, Momo is captured before she and Akaran could make it out of the tunnel, as Turbo Granny starts counting in an unusual manner up to 10. Akaran becomes angered by this and protests, accusing Turbo Granny of cheating. However, the evil spirit states her loophole in that the terms of the challenge didn't require her to count normally. As panic sets in for Akaran, Turbo Granny completes her countdown of 10 minutes. Lacking a solid plan to rescue Momo, Akaran resorts to biting Turbo Granny's breast. In a flurry of panic and irritation, Turbo Granny struggles to dislodge him due to his choice of clothing and ultimately decides to fully possess him. She then prepares to devour Momo. However, recalling her grandmother's lesson on harnessing her sense of touch, Momo constricts Turbo Granny's aura until she is entirely contained within Akaran and is freed after Turbo Granny destroys her confinement to stop her. As they celebrate their victory over Turbo Granny, they are alarmed to see the earthbound spirit revealing itself to save Turbo Granny and immediately rush out of the tunnel. Momo and Akaran flee for their lives from the earthbound spirit crab. Akaran, empowered by Turbo Granny's speed in his cursed form, carries Momo on his back, attempting to outpace the spirit through the town, visible only to them and not to the public. As Akaran reaches his running limit, Momo devises a plan and directs him to lure the earthbound spirit crab into a hot spring. aware that the muscles of a crab will tighten from being exposed to boiling water. Momo uses her psychic power to pull down a pipe with hot water towards the earthbound spirit crab, effectively slowing it down and allowing them a chance to flee Shono City. Yet, they are soon cornered by citizens under possession, summoned by Turbo Granny and the earthbound spirit crab, who have enlisted spirits from a nearby cemetery to ensnare Momo and Akaran. Turbo Granny declares to the pair that she and the earthbound spirit will prevent their departure from Shono City no matter what. Trapped with no escape from the horde of possessed humans, Akaran uses Turbo Granny's power to swiftly carry Momo through the masses. The velocity of their escape causes both to suffer, and inadvertently, Momo releases Turbo Granny within Akaran. A forceful kick sends them flying, rendering Akaran unconscious. Turbo Granny then merges with the earthbound spirit crab, preparing for a game of cat and mouse with Momo. Despite Turbo Granny's offer to give her a few minutes to start running, Momo retorts that she needs only a second to escape, as she uses her psychokinesis to latch onto the roof of a passing train. Turbo Granny chases after the train and manages to catch up to the train. However, she soon realizes she has been duped into following Momo, who discloses that her grandmother had laid a trap on the railway leading to Kamikoshi City. Unable to escape due to Momo using her psychokinesis to detain her, the Turbo Granny-infused earthbound spirit crab becomes exorcised after reaching the trap. In the midst of the exorcism, Momo witnessed various schoolgirls emerging from the earthbound spirit crab. Following Turbo Granny's defeat, Momo, Akaran, and her grandmother return to the tunnel to honor the spirits. There, Momo's grandmother reveals the tunnel's dark past as a murder site of young girls and explains that Turbo Granny had come to comfort the spirits who couldn't move on to the afterlife. Before departing, she imparts to Momo the principles of coexistence between the living and the dead, expressing relief that Momo remained unharmed. At the house, Akaran joins Momo and her grandmother for dinner, watching them fight over the crab they are having, and becomes prompted to keep his distance from Momo's grandmother after she insists on seeing if his genitals have really returned to him. Momo and Akaran then say goodbyes as Akaran prepare to head home on his bike. The following day at school, Akaran ponders how to greet Momo upon seeing her again. To his surprise, he finds Momo waiting outside by the entrance and assumes she is waiting for someone else. However, Momo walks up to him and inquires why he took so long to meet her. After a pleasant conversation about aliens, Momo and Akaran head to their respective classes. Akaran, happy to have made a friend, overlooks the harassment he faces by his classmates, while Momo becomes preoccupied with her thoughts, barely noticing her friends attempting to reach her, which leads to them assuming that Momo has gotten back with her old boyfriend. Both eagerly anticipating their next conversation during class, the two set out to find each other as the lunch break commences. Unfortunately, their search is fruitless as they unknowingly pass by each other. Unaware that the person they are seeking is just on the opposite side, Momo and Akaran, seated outside on a bench, begin to suspect that the other is deliberately avoiding them because of a misinterpreted error they committed earlier. As they walk giving up the search, they accidentally bump into each other, their teeth clashing unexpectedly. Momo and Akaran reassure one another that they were both attempting to find each other, dismissing any notion of avoidance. However, their bumping into each catches the attention of Momo's friends. This then leads to a heated exchange of words that destroys their budding friendship after denying that they are in a relationship. Akaran, disheartened, retreats to the bathroom and looks down in shock to realize that although he has regained his genitalia, his testicles are the only things that are missing from his crotch. In class, Momo, visibly annoyed, becomes the focus after her peers discover her recent encounter with Akaran. The situation deteriorates when Akaran seeks her out, making a strange hand gesture below his waist. Momo, not in the mood for conversation, requests Akaran to leave. Misinterpreting this, Akaran assumes Momo is ashamed to be seen with him and leaves, dejected. One of Momo's friends then expresses shock at her uncharacteristic reaction if Akaran was truly her friend. Towards the end of the school day, Akaran accidentally bumps into a female student named Era and becomes taken aback when she speaks to him in a friendly manner. While walking, regretting her earlier behavior, Momo notices Akaran with Era and overhears her boasting to her friends about manipulating Akaran's feelings with her feigned kindness. Frustrated by Era's actions, Momo employs her psychic power to have a basin fall on Era's head, leaving her friends bewildered about the cause. Momo then reunites with Akaran, cheerfully suggests they walk home together, and retorts at Era. On their way home, Momo expresses regret to Akaran for her earlier behavior, which he forgives, but he swiftly changes the subject to his own predicament of missing his 2 peanuts. While Momo laughs at Akaran's predicament, Seiko berates Akaran for not allowing her to check to see if he was back to normal yesterday. After doing a quick inspection on his soul, Seiko instructs Momo to grab a doll and a washbowl full of water after she finds out that something is inside of Akaran. After acquiring the washbowl and a Manki Nico, Seiko smacks Akaran on the head with a Harisen, which prompts her to reference Kenpachi and inquires if Momo noticed any changes at the moment. Momo informs her that she saw the color of Akaran's aura change and is then instructed by Seiko to extract the aura when it changes color again. Upon doing so, they are astonished to see the Manki Nico doll spring to life and dash out of the room. Momo uses her psychic power to sense its aura and restrain the doll, which shows annoyance as it demands to be released. Momo and Akaran are informed by Seiko that the doll is actually Turbo Granny, who discloses that she avoided exorcism by entering Akaran at the last second. Turbo Granny declares her intent to seek revenge once her powers return, prompting Momo to scold the yokai for not realizing that she is currently powerless against them. With this knowledge, Akaran confronts Turbo Granny, demanding the return of his possessions and brandishing a talisman as a threat. Turbo Granny warns Akaran against threatening her life, as it would result in him never regaining his peanuts, a realization that dawns on both Akaran and Momo. Subsequently, Turbo Granny demands for Akaran to kill Momo and Seiko in exchange for having his 2 watermelons returned. Upon hearing this, Akaran transforms into his Turbo Granny form, fueled by rage. Seiko discloses that although Turbo Granny's consciousness was ejected from Akaran's body, her power lingered within him because of her reluctance to be freed, much to Turbo Granny's shock. This then results to Seiko frantically striking Turbo Granny with her Harisen. Despite their enmity, Momo confesses to Turbo Granny that she cannot bring herself to hate her after discovering her past benevolence towards the girls who died in the tunnel and proposes a bargain. She will give her power back if she assists them in locating Akaran's watermelons. Turbo Granny accepts the offer but regrettably informs them that she has lost his coconuts. They set out to find his family jewels, as Turbo Granny claims, are enveloped in a golden layer of her spiritual energy. Having not found them, Turbo Granny speculates that they have been captured by a spirit or yokai, lured by their strong life force. She then expresses indifference to their location, which greatly irritates Momo and Akaran as they stomp on her in frustration. Upon reporting back, Seiko offers assistance by gathering intel. The following day at school, Akaran is met by a male classmate requesting him to introduce him to Momo since he is well acquainted with her. Upon hearing him remark on Momo's cuteness, Akaran comes to realize this factor about her but tries to suppress these thoughts, seeing her only as a friend. He then learns from the classmate that a nasty rumor about Momo has been spread around school, prompting him to grab the classmate's shirt demanding to know the culprit behind this. As a result of his anger, Akaran inadvertently triggers Turbo Granny's power, frightening the classmate. Upon realizing what is happening, Akaran calms down, offers an apology, and proceeds to sit at his seat. Turbo Granny then shows herself to Akaran, revealing that she has been hiding in his bag the whole time, and reacts with glee after seeing him unleash her power in public. Not wanting anyone to see her, Akaran dashes out of the classroom to speak to her alone out in the hallway and hears her attempt to coax him into restoring her power, which he resists. Turbo Granny then returns hiding inside Akaran's bag after Momo appears. Akaran prepares to tell Momo about Turbo Granny, however, he becomes unable to meet her gaze once he begins to perceive her as cute based off what his classmate told him. Consequently, Momo chases after him as he increasingly distances himself, causing her both irritation and confusion. This then gives Turbo Granny the opportunity to roam around the school. Later, Momo goes back to class wondering why Akaran is trying to avoid her, and learns from one of her friends that Akaran stood up for her when another student brought up the nasty rumor about her. Despite being informed about this, Momo fails to understand why he is still trying to avoid her. Striding through the hallways, Era flaunts her beauty to the admiring glances of her classmates. While doing so, she ponders her view of Momo as a demon, an opinion shaped by seeing Momo's psychic powers at the time when she dropped a washtub on her head and feels a twinge of disappointment that the malicious rumor she had spread about Momo seems to have been ineffective. While clutching one of Akaran's kantama, which she discovered the previous day, she holds on to the belief that it is a sign of her destiny to save the world. Last night, Era discovers one of Akaran's kantama after it falls on her head and sees a stream of light along the railway, leading to her claiming the golden ball and her assumed role as a savior. In the present, Era's friends delivers the items she had requested for her world-saving mission, a Bible and a cross. After one of Era's friends expresses how strange Era has been acting, Era alerts them about a mysterious red-clad woman outside the school. Era, upon learning from her friends that they see nothing outside, deduces that the entity must be Momo's familiar sent to observe them. As she attempts to hide from the woman, Era is deemed suspicious by two boys and tries to cover up her behavior with her false personality. At the same time, she signals her friends to meet after school. Atop the school roof, Momo demands Akarun to look at her. As an excuse, Akarun tells her that he is monitoring Turbo Granny while she eats lunch in case she leaves his sight, to which the talking cat doll becomes confident that he can't stop her. Momo then questions why Turbo Granny is here with them at school and ends up instigating a fight with her after claiming that she has a right to order her after winning in their previous battle. Turbo Granny informs them that she has been searching around the school for the Kintama, thinking that there is a possibility that a human had found it instead of a yakai, which could potentially lead to them gaining the ability to perceive spirits and becoming a target for them. Turbo Granny also mentions a strange woman but chooses to divulge more about this piece of info after school. Era contemplates whether she can manage a confrontation with Momo. Peering outside, she notices the woman in red approaching. Later, in the corridors, Momo is approached by Era, whom she remembers as the girl she dropped the washtub on the day before, requesting a private meeting. Momo consents to discuss matters in a different location, wishing to avoid complications, and informs Akarun that they will reconvene later. After she leaves, Akarun is alerted by Turbo Granny in his backpack about the mysterious woman she had previously seen. Following Era into a deserted building, she is suddenly ambushed by her two friends who handcuff and restrain her. Era then tries to perform an exorcism on her using the cross in the Bible. Frustrated, Momo employs her psychic abilities to push Era's friends off her. Era, witnessing Momo's demon wings again, takes out the Kintama to assist in her exorcism. When Momo realizes Era possesses one of Akarun's Kintama, she attempts to clarify its significance but fails to persuade her. Spotting Akarun rushing in with concern, Momo alerts him that Era holds one of his Kintama and identifies her as the mysterious woman. Akarun, however, clarifies that Era is actually the target of the mysterious woman, who then appears to seize Era away from Momo. After seizing Era, the enigmatic woman proclaims herself to be her mother. Akarun attempts to rescue Era by using Turbo Granny's power, however, the woman prevents this as she evades his rush attacks with her acrobatic movements. Seeing Akarun facing the threat of being devoured by the woman, Momo tries using her physic power to pull him out her mouth. The woman then repels Momo with a kick and ingests Akarun whole. The woman reveals to Era that she has been waiting over 10 years for a reunion since their last encounter when Era was young. Regaining her footing, Momo demands for the woman to return Akarun and is compelled to remind her of the rules governing interactions between yakai and humans. Meanwhile, she becomes confused by Era's outburst about joining forces to defeat the demon. It is then that Turbo Granny informs her, based off the information she searched for from Muko's phone that she stole, that their enemy is named Acrobatic Silky, a yakai in a red dress famed for her agility. Upon being offended by Era calling her out as a monster, Acrobatic Silky swallows the girl. In peril, Momo seeks assistance from Turbo Granny, only to learn that the doll is powerless due to her power stolen. Acrobatic Silky then seizes Momo by the neck with her hair, violently swinging around the room. Momo, however, defies Acrobatic Silky's demand and is also ingested. Acrobatic Silky then cries, wondering where her baby is. Turbo Granny confronts Acrobatic Silky, warning her to release the children or face repercussions, explaining that her being a Mankey Nico doll meant that she could grant good fortune on others. True to Turbo Granny's foresight, Momo ignites Acrobatic Silky's hair, which she had ingested along with her, using Era's lighter rosary, compelling the yakai to expel the children out. With both of them out, Momo and Akarun gear up for a retaliatory strike on Acrobatic Silky. Acrobatic Silky pursues Momo and Akarun as they attempt to keep an unconscious Era out of reach. Despite the crowded building, Akarun, in his Turbo Granny form, is directed by Momo to persist in carrying Era, luring Acrobatic Silky in pursuit with a plan in mind. After overpowering Momo, Acrobatic Silky chases Akarun and nearly separates him from Era. However, Acrobatic Silky's attempt to seize Era is thwarted when her damaged hair becomes entangled in the building's beams, aligning with Momo's strategy. As she struggles to escape, Momo seizes her legs with her psychic powers and urges Akarun to attack Acrobatic Silky using Turbo Granny's power, catching him off guard as he lacks a prepared attack. Eventually, Akarun capitalizes on his speed to charge at Acrobatic Silky, taking her down after she is sent crashing back. Victorious, Momo and Akarun recover the Kintama from Era but are informed by Turbo Granny that Era is dead. After checking her pulse, Akarun confirms that Turbo Granny was correct. Era is indeed dead, having been previously consumed by a yakai. Despite Turbo Granny's assertion that it was too late, Momo and Akarun desperately attempt to resuscitate her by massaging her heart, administering CPR, and having Turbo Granny call an ambulance. On guard after witnessing Acrobatic Silky rise, they are taken aback when the yakai offers to help save Era by transferring her own aura into the girl. Momo expresses skepticism about acrobatic Silky's intentions, prompting the yokai to tear out her own mouth as a vow not to harm Era again. Still wary, Momo instructs Akaran to remain vigilant in his Turbo Granny form while she tentatively agrees to acrobatic Silky's plan to transfer her aura to Era using her psychic powers. As the process begins, Momo glimpses into acrobatic Silky's past life as a hard-working mother who cherished the time she spent raising her beloved daughter, culminating in the heartbreaking decision to end her own life by dancing off a building after her child was forcibly removed from her. In a crowd, while grappling with forgotten memories, the mother encounters a young girl, Era, who mistakenly believes she is her mother. After Era goes back to her father, being reminded by him that her mother is no longer with them and that she must stay strong, acrobatic Silky starts to think she was Era's mother in past life and feels compelled to protect her, resulting in her transformation into a yokai. Witnessing acrobatic Silky's history, Momo cries, leading Akaran to suspect foul play and prepares to confront acrobatic Silky. Momo, however, urges Akaran not to attack, revealing that Era has miraculously returned to life. As the revival succeeds, acrobatic Silky expresses remorse to Era and begins to disintegrate. Turbo Granny reveals to Momo that acrobatic Silky, haunted by regrets and without her aura, is doomed to be forgotten instead of passing on. Amidst this tragedy, acrobatic Silky recalls her own child and laments her failings as a mother. Wishing for acrobatic Silky to pass over to the afterlife, Era embraces her, calls her mother and professes her love, resulting in the yokai successfully achieving nirvana. Era then expresses a wish for acrobatic Silky and her child to find a better place beyond. After the conflict with acrobatic Silky is concluded, Era dines with Momo, Akaran, Seiko, and Turbo Granny. Momo, realizing that Era is hostile towards her after having dropped a basin on her during their first encounter, admits to having gone too far and apologizes to her. However, she demands that Era also apologize to Akaran for making fun of him at the time. Era responds by stating that she does not harbor a grudge against Momo for this action. Rather, she perceives Momo as a demon and her enemy who she must defeat. This prompts a heated argument in which Momo asserts that she is not a demon. Era then shifts her focus to Akaran and Seiko, claiming that the boy's transformation into Turbo Granny and the grandmother's youthful and beautiful appearance serve as evidence supporting her belief that Momo and the others are indeed demons. The two girls continue their argument, with Era warning Momo that she will eventually confront her again. Momo retorts that she accepts Era's challenge. Before departing, Era inquiries about Akaran why he chose to save her despite being a demon. Akaran replies that it is natural for a person to help others, which surprises Era as she assumes that he still has some humanity. She then tells him that she will come to liberate him from Momo's influence and blushes as she exits, shocking Momo in the process. Later, Akaran joyfully has his ball returned to its proper place in a game of baseball between Turbo Granny and Seiko. The following day at school, Momo suggests to Akaran to convene on the rooftop to discuss the whereabouts of his other ball. However, Akaran informs her that he prefers to utilize that time, as well as after, to complete a report. After complying to have him be by himself, Momo opts to spend lunch with Miko and Muko but starts to suspect that Akaran was concealing something from her. Miko contemplates that it might pertain to a girl. Though she denies this, Momo's thoughts drift towards Era after yesterday. While going out to get a few drinks for herself and Miko, Momo begins to wonder why she is feeling uneasy and contemplates checking in on Akaran. While outside the school, Akaran trains privately as Seiko instructed him to better prepare himself for his and Momo's next encounter with another paranormal enemy. Unexpectedly, he receives a visit from Era, who tries to confess her feelings for him by giving him a smooch. Akaran backs away in shock and asks Era why she thought it would be appropriate to do this, to which she responds that she is currently being guided by books that belong to her father's. As the romantically inexperienced Era attempts to express her feelings again, Akaran tries to block her advances and accidentally falls on top of her. Akaran is then shocked to see Momo observing the two in a misunderstood situation. After Momo expresses her disappointment and storms off back to class, Akaran pursues her to clarify what happened, only for Momo to refuse to listen to him after he lied about wanting to finish a report. Later, during a class lesson about the mantis shrimp, Momo struggles to overcome the earlier incident while Miko and Muko believe that she is being possessed by the spirit of the mantis shrimp. Meanwhile, Akaran hopes to reconcile with Momo later. Akaran then becomes astonished to find the floor flooded with water and his classroom mysteriously empty. Upon leaving the halls, he encounters Era, who believes that Momo had created this mysterious setting. Akaran informs her that he has been in this environment. Meanwhile, Momo realizes that she cannot open the windows to escape and wonders if Akaran is experiencing the same predicament, a wonder that quickly turns into frustration as she thinks about him. She then hears a noise approaching and looks to see a snake-like creature in the distance. Momo hides from the creature but inadvertently creates a ripple in the water, prompting it to unleash a blast from the mouth that destroys the classroom she is in. Fortunately, Momo evades the attack and wonders about Akaran's whereabouts after the creature departs. Simultaneously, Akaran and Era are startled by the noise. Recalling a similar encounter when he and Momo confronted the Flatwoods monster, Akaran explains to Era that their sole means of escape is to defeat the alien who appeared at school. They are soon confronted by a crab-headed alien that launches an assault. Akaran transforms into his Turbo Granny form, swiftly pulls Era out of harm's way, and directs her to relocate as he engages the alien. However, Akaran is overpowered by psychokinesis and reverts to his normal form after the Serpos approach him. After deflecting Era to prevent her interference, who they wonder how she is able to enter their void, the Serpos inform Akaran that they have come for his reproductive organs to acquire his supernatural power he last demonstrated to them. Akaran explains to them that the power they witnessed was cursed at the time and finds himself unable to enter his Turbo Granny form. As the Serpos bring out a pair of giant scissors to get ready and extract his banana, Era enters a form resembling acrobatic Silky and rescues Akaran by manipulating her hair to strike back at the Serpos. Having done so, Era expresses how she is indeed the chosen one and demands for the Serpos to release Akaran. Following the attack on the Serpos, Era inquiries about his well-being but becomes embarrassed to look at him in the interpreting this as an indication that he wishes to advance their relationship to a deeper level. The Serpo realizes that Era possesses superhuman abilities similar to Akaran, explaining her capacity to enter dimensional space, and orders the crab-headed alien to engage Era in close combat while he attacks her from a distance using his psychic. Era successfully dodges all the punches thrown at her by the crab-headed alien, kicks him into the ceiling where his head becomes lodged, and prepares to confront the Serpo. However, the alien utilizes his psychic powers to pin Era against the wall, and expresses delight at discovering more than one human with superhuman capabilities to harvest. After freeing his head, the crab-headed alien delivers a powerful punch to Era, propelling her through a classroom. Akaran intervenes to protect Era from the Serpos but is once again subdued by the alien's awesome zone that negates Yakai powers. The crab-headed alien then begins to assault Akaran while he is down. However, Akaran manages to propel himself at the alien after Momo arrives to counter the Serpo's psychokinesis. While the aliens react in shock to have the misfortune of reuniting with her, Momo berates Akaran for being involved with Era and makes a remark to once again see the faces of her former enemies. With Momo present, the Serpos expresses disappointment that the subordinate creature they brought along failed to accomplish its mission to eliminate her. While Akaran is pleased to see Momo again, she instructs him not to look at her while he is still lacking clothing. Although she was displeased that Momo was the one to save her, Era requests that she fights alongside her to defeat the Serpos. Momo then reacts in shock upon seeing Era appear as acrobatic Silky. While expressing her willingness to cooperate with Momo, Era asserts her refusal to relinquish Ken. As a result of her hearing Akaran's real name, Momo falls back, flustered, and accidentally ceases her psychokinesis, causing Akaran and Era to succumb to the Serpo's psychokinesis once again. With the two Yakai power wielders once again succumbing to their psychokinesis, the Serpo seizes this opportunity to compel their crab-headed subordinate to fight for them by administering a performance-boosting serum, much to his disapproval. In his enhanced mantis shrimp-like form, the crab-headed alien assaults Akaran and Era with shockwave punches while they are unable to move. However, Momo soon manages to regain her composure, becomes prompted to demand Era not to say Akaran's full name while in her presence, and uses her psychic power to counter the Serpo's awesome zone. The Serpo subsequently instructs the crab alien to focus on Momo. Nevertheless, Akaran and Era transform to combat the crab alien, successfully gaining the upper hand as Akaran skillfully maneuvers Era out of the path of the crab alien's fast punches, allowing her to strike at his weak points. Although they collaborate effectively, Momo cautions them against fighting too closely to avoid becoming easier. Era misunderstands this criticism as jealousy on Momo's part, which Momo refutes, while Akaran acknowledges the soundness of Momo's advice but inadvertently causes her to lose focus on her psychokinesis after making a comment reminiscent of Ken Takakura. In the interim, the crab alien expresses disappointment upon learning that the Serpos intend to penalize him for his subpar in battle by reducing his pay. The conflict between the two opposing sides is then interrupted after the water beneath their feet suddenly rises and floods the void space. After reaching up to the surface along with Akaran and Era, Momo discovers that the walls and ceiling have also turned into water and looks up in dismay to see the creature that she previously encountered is swimming above them. Upon recognizing the creature above as Nessie, Momo and Akaran swiftly swam away after it assaulted a Serpo. Beneath them, the enhanced crab alien unleashes an underwater shockwave punch aimed at Era, propelling her towards the watery ceiling, threatening to drown her. Despite claiming that his punches are more powerful underwater, the enhanced crab alien soon reveals to Momo and Akaran that he lacks gills, leading him to struggle for air as he begins to drown. Seizing the moment for a counterattack, Akaran transforms into his Turbo Granny form, intending to utilize his enhanced leg strength to attack, but quickly discovers that Turbo Granny's power does not allow him to swim after he finds himself sinking. After reverting to his original form, both he and Momo continue to evade the enhanced crab alien's assaults. Akaran informs Momo that he will distract the alien while she assists Era. Momo finds this plan troublesome and engages in an argument with Akaran, which involves the incident he had with Era at school. Sensing her distress over the matter, despite her claiming that it did not bother her, Akaran suggests to Momo to be honest with him that the incident did bother her and give him a chance later to clarify what truly transpired, as he expresses that she is the only person who he does not want to misunderstand. He then dives down to protect Momo from an incoming underwater shockwave punch from the enhanced crab alien. This prompts Momo to conceive a plan to utilize her powers on Akaran, transforming him into a living speedboat to maneuver in the water. While riding on him, Momo propels Akaran upwards to reach Era and employs her powers to expel the water from Era's lungs, allowing her to breathe again. Noticing that the added water resistance from their clothing hampers their movement, Momo decides to strip down to her and urges Era to do the same, despite her reluctance. While below, the enhanced crab alien observes a Serpo swimming nearby and requests additional time to pursue them. However, he is astonished to discover that it is merely a severed head after being killed by Nessie. A Serpo then approaches the enhanced crab alien, intending to utilize his body cables to fuse with both him and Nessie. As Momo, Akaran, and Era prepare to dive once more to confront their enemies, the trio suddenly gazes downward to behold the Serpo Dover demon Nessie, and make a hasty retreat as it begins to unleash water blasts from its mouth. Once the onslaught of water concludes, they notice the creature absorbing water through its gills, signifying its need to recharge before it can continue its offensive. Era, employing her acrobatic silky hair, maneuvers herself towards the Serpo Dover demon Nessie to execute a flying kick. However, the creature successfully blocks her attack with a punch and responds with a barrage of shockwave punches, explaining that it excels in close combat due to the crab alien's arms it possesses. After Momo and Akaran recover Era, the three are left grappling with how to confront the Serpo Dover demon Nessie until Momo manages to formulate a plan after Akaran's remarks about the creature's mantis shrimp arms. Unfortunately, they are soon scattered by one of the shockwave punches. Considering Momo to be the most formidable opponent, the Serpo Dover demon Nessie prepares to deliver a fatal blow after exhausting his water blasts. As he readies to strike, Momo uses her power to bring the water down, causing the Serpo Dover demon Nessie's mantis shrimp arms to tear apart, as Momo explains that they are unable to endure the force when removed from the water. In response, the Serpo Dover demon Nessie attempts to ensnare Momo with his teeth and plunges into the depths to generate another water blast intended to cleave Momo in two. However, Era uses her acrobatic silky hair to intervene, seizing the Serpo Dover demon Nessie by the neck, leading to his defeat as Akaran utilizes her hair as a track to propel himself, ultimately splitting the fused creature while simultaneously catching Momo in his embrace. Following the defeat of the Serpo Dover demon Nessie, Momo and Akaran successfully exit the void space and are initially relieved to find themselves on solid ground. However, their sense of relief swiftly transforms into embarrassment as they discover they are in the school hallway, exposed in their underwear, prompting both of them, along with Era, to flee in a state of panic. Momo, Akaran, and Era are questioned by Queen regarding whether their exposure in their underwear constituted an act of bullying. Shortly thereafter, they are left alone when a staff member informs the nurse of an incoming phone call. After a brief period of distress over their public embarrassment, Momo discovers from Era that she inadvertently activated acrobatic Silky's powers during the altercation with the Serpos, attributing this to her connection with the Yakai's aura. Akaran speculates that this connection may render her a target for extraterrestrial beings, who might be interested in humans possessing Yakai abilities like himself and Era, potentially frantically in pursuit of technological advancement, which he believes may relate to his missing Kintama. Despite presenting his theory, Momo and Era fail to follow along. More concerned about their previous embarrassment, Momo hears Era intending to pin the blame on her, to which Momo complies to avoid the hassle of creating additional excuses. Era then leaves with her friends after they come to pick her up. With the two now by themselves, Momo demands Akaran to provide her with an explanation regarding his incident involving Era during lunch. Akaran shares with Momo that he fell on Era after attempting to push her away during her efforts to smooch him. Momo then questions why they were in a private location, to which Akaran explains that he was exercising to become stronger and preferred to keep this from her to appear more impressive. Momo finds this explanation amusing and playfully urges him to elaborate on his desire to be perceived as cool by her. Overcome with embarrassment, Akaran prepares to leave, assuring Momo that he will not blame her for the incident like Era. Just before he departs, Momo eagerly seeks to respond back to him. Before Momo could articulate her thoughts to Akaran, she is interrupted by the arrival of her friends Miko and Muko, who had heard about the incident and sought an explanation. Momo decided against providing specifics, leading Miko to hypothesize that Momo had a disagreement with Era over Akaran while in their underwear, a suggestion that Momo firmly denies. In Class 2D, Era receives comfort from her peers as she feigns innocence, relishing the fact that circumstances are favoring her. However, her contentment diminishes upon overhearing her classmates disparaging Momo, whom they accuse of harassing Era, using the rumors as justification for labeling her a terrible person. Overcome with guilt, Era admits to her classmates that she fabricated the lies about Momo and pleads with them to cease their negative remarks. This confession prompts Era to exit the classroom, leaving her classmates in a state of astonishment. While silking over her confession outside the school, Era is approached by Momo, who questions whether Era has followed through with her plan to attribute the incident to her. Era admits to doing so, yet Momo detects her falsehood, having observed Era's isolation, which frustrates Era. The two then face the Dover demon, who speaks of his need to support his family. Momo and Era prepare to defend themselves but soon see the Dover demon fall to the ground, exhausted from bleeding a white fluid from his body. Following a dream about his son, the Dover demon awakens to find himself in the Ayase household, where he is being observed by Momo, Akaran, Seiko, and Era. Momo informs her grandmother that the presence of the Dover demon serves as evidence of extraterrestrial life, only to be met with her grandmother's skepticism, who mistakenly identifies the creature as a Kappa. After providing care for him, Era inquires about their next steps, expressing concern that he might attempt to deceive them once more. The Dover demon then puts the group on guard after he moves from his bed, prompting Momo to advise him not to get any bright ideas since Seiko is there to offer support. The Dover demon then looks down to notices a plate of curry and is told by Momo that they prepared the dish for him, despite their uncertainty regarding his dietary preferences. Overwhelmed by their kindness and the medical attention he received, the Dover demon succumbs to tears and vows that he will never pose a threat to them again. Following a dinner with Momo, Akaran, Seiko, Era, and Turbo Granny, the Dover demon shares his predicament regarding the need to secure funds for his ailing son's blood transfusion, which has led him to engage in perilous activities as an outlaw. In a gesture of support, Akaran offers to sell his Kintama to assist the Dover demon. Momo interjects, explaining that this solution would not adequately address the ongoing financial demands of his son's daily transfusions. Nevertheless, Akaran insists on his desire to help. Era expresses her backing by assuring Akaran that she will retrieve the Kintama once it is sold, only for Momo to advise her to refrain from getting involved. Despite Akaran's generous offer, the Dover demon declines, stating he does not wish to burden Akaran or his companions further and prepares to depart. Seiko, however, halts him to recognize the scent of his blood and subsequently offers him a cart of milk to drink. The Dover demon acknowledges that milk is equivalent to the blood of his kind, prompting Seiko to propose asking a farmer for a cow for the Dover demon to take home to his son. As he boards his ship with the cow being brought up, the Dover demon expresses his gratitude to the group for their assistance, acknowledging his indebtedness to them. Shortly thereafter, Momo gets down on her knees with Akaran and Era to implore Seiko to purchase new uniforms for them. While Seiko agrees to buy uniforms for Akaran and Era at no cost, she informs Momo that she will only procure hers if she performs an impression of Hiroshi Abe. Having perceived Momo's intentions to take advantage of adults' financial resources, Momo agrees to her grandmother's request and is compelled to greet a visitor at the door while making the impression. Upon opening the door, Momo is taken aback to find Gigi, her childhood friend and first crush, which Akaran learns about in astonishment from Seiko. Upon seeing Gigi again, Momo is filled with surprise, while Akaran notes the young man's appearance, which he believes conveys a sense of toughness. Nevertheless, he, along with Momo and Era, finds Gigi's sudden surge of energy in reaction to Momo's expression at the door to be rather unamusing. After Seiko invites Jiji to make himself comfortable in her home, Momo is taken aback to learn from her grandmother that Jiji will be staying with them. This news also catches Akaran off guard, while Era misinterprets Jiji's move-in as a signal that Momo is gathering forces for a significant battle,
今は宇宙人という脅威があるから共闘してるけど
leading her to leave the house with a vow to stop Momo, much to Momo's frustration in having to deal with Era and Jiji. Akaran gets ready to leave but first complies with Momo's request to inform her that he will see her the next day, mirroring her previous statement, which stirs emotions in both of them. Momo seeks clarification from Seiko regarding Jiji's moving in with them. Seiko reiterates that this situation arises from Jiji's parents being hospitalized, and she feels pleased by the compliments he shares with her during their meal. While they wash dishes together, Jiji expresses regret for having teased Momo during their childhood and reveals that he has developed the ability to see spirits. Momo is taken aback by this revelation and inquires if he has encountered a golden ball. However, after causing him confusion, she decides to retract her question. Jiji then recounts his experience of being tormented by an evil spirit in his home, explaining that the exorcists hired to help him, following his parents' illness, all tragically took their own lives. This led him to seek Seiko's assistance, as the exorcists had indicated she would be his final hope. After sharing his plight, Jiji apologizes for his past ridicule and for involving Momo in his troubles. Momo reassures him of her belief in her grandmother's ability to vanquish the evil spirit. Nevertheless, Seiko informs Momo that she will be the one to confront this challenge, as her powers are effective only within Kamigo City, and suggests that Jiji's ability to see spirits may be connected to Akaran's Kantama. She also offers to purchase new uniforms for Momo if she agrees to undertake this task. Following his transfer to Momo's school, Jiji introduces himself to his new classmates, which quickly escalates into flirtation with a female peer. He is subsequently seated next to Momo, who attempts to disregard his presence, alongside Miko and Muko, with whom Jiji becomes acquainted. Momo's friends learn from Jiji that he lives with her and unnecessarily embellish their relationship as being affectionate, much to Momo's irritation, prompting her to strangle him. Meanwhile, Akaran is troubled by the prospect of Momo severing ties with him should she develop a romantic relationship with Jiji, given that he is her first love. To distract himself, he secretly trains during lunch. His concentration is disrupted when Momo unexpectedly joins him for lunch, aiming to prevent the recurrence of his previous incident with Era. While Akaran is engaged in weightlifting, Momo offers to feed him, leaving him astonished. Just as he is about to accept her offer, Jiji interrupts by presenting Momo with her favorite yogurt, which brings her joy. Overwhelmed by the sight of Momo enjoying herself with Jiji, Akaran walks away, internally deciding to distance himself from Momo from now on. He then notices an anatomical model rushing towards him and shouts a warning to Momo about its approach. Startled, Momo prepares to use her powers to intervene but is pulled out of harm's way by Jiji. As the anatomical model leaps over them, Momo spots a shiny object attached to it, believing it to be Akaran's Kantama. She attempts to stop the anatomical model but is pulled by its running velocity along with Jiji, prompting Akaran to chase after them in an effort to rescue Momo. Akaran transforms into his Turbo Granny form in an effort to catch up with Momo and Jiji, with the former struggling to maintain control over the fleeing anatomical model. The anatomical model, however, creates a significant gap by traversing the rooftops. Momo attempts to use her psychic abilities to seize Akaran but inadvertently propels both herself and Jiji toward an oncoming bus. Just in time, Akaran comes in to rescue the two and has them ride on his back. While they are in this position, Momo reveals to Jiji that the creature he believes has captured them is, in fact, Akaran in his transformed state, which leaves him astonished. Together, Akaran and Jiji assist Momo in her efforts to pull in the anatomical doll. In a bid to escape, the anatomical model disassembles itself and successfully eludes capture. Nevertheless, after leaving behind its heart, Momo is able to locate it by following its cries of anguish from her striking its heart. The trio eventually discovers the anatomical doll in a junkyard. Momo assures it that they mean no harm and expresses her desire to examine the golden sphere attached to it. Suddenly, they hear a female voice from the garbage calling for the anatomical model named Taro. Taro rushes to the trash to rescue the female anatomical doll, Hana, whom he longs to see, and professes his feelings for her despite her attempts to persuade him to leave her behind. As this unfolds, Akaran contemplates the connection between Taro's declarations to Hana and his own feelings for Momo, leading him to blush in realization. After bringing Hana to the Ayase residence, Akaran falls to his knees, along with Momo and Jiji, and begs Seiko to take her in. Seiko initially suggests that Hana stay at Akaran's house, but Akaran insists that the Ayase house is their best option. Momo chimes in, reminding Seiko that they allowed Turbo Granny to stay with them, much to the talking cat's annoyance to be compared to the anatomical model. Regarding Taro, Momo explains that he returned to the science classroom at their school but will only agree to stay if he gets to see Hana every so often. She also clarifies that the shiny ball he had was a Christmas ornament, not Akaran's kintama. After persistent pleading from the three, Seiko complies to let Hana stay, provided her relationship with Taro doesn't cause trouble for the neighbors. She then heads to the kitchen to prepare dinner, asking Momo to set the table. As Momo starts setting the table, Jiji comments on her and Akaran's impressive powers. After he witnesses Jiji remove a piece of lint off of Momo and proceeds to engage her with playful banter, causing Momo to smile, Akaran recalls Taro's confession to Hana and feels compelled to intervene. He vaguely informs Momo of his decision to take a stand, much to her confusion, and becomes prompted to sing around Jiji. This then leads to Jiji also singing along with him, much to Momo's irritation as they disrupt her from setting up the table. Seiko shouts at them to cease their activities since they were kicking dust and instructs Momo to pack her undergarments in preparation for her stay at Jiji's house for the weekend to cleanse the house of the curse. Akaran becomes shocked, thinking it will just be the two of them. But Momo reassures him that she planned to invite him to feel more at ease. Hearing this, Akaran states his determination to complete the assignment so Jiji can return to his home. Late at night, Taro sprints out of the school, eager to see Hana. On his way out of the hallway, he scares off a couple of students attempting a seance and becomes hit by a truck on his way to the Ayase residency. Meanwhile, at the Ayase residence, Momo waits with Hana, reassuring her that Taro will arrive and promises to stay by her side until he does. By morning, Taro finally arrives, apologizing to Hana for his delay and explains that he had to reassemble his body parts after his truck accident. Momo, waking from a doze, catches sight of Taro kissing Hana and is thanked by Taro for staying by Hana's side. She is then stunned to learn of Taro's plan to meet Hana daily. Meanwhile, Jiji lies awake, unable to sleep, haunted by the image of the spirit lurking in his house. After finishing a game of cards on the train ride to Jiji's village, Akaran grows uneasy as he watches Momo enjoying a lively conversation with Jiji, who has just brought out her favorite snacks. Akaran attempts to block out his jealousy by focusing his mind on reclaiming his kintama, which leads to him accidentally shouting it out loud to Momo after she senses his discomfort. Much to her amusement at his single-minded focus, Jiji misinterprets this as a dirty joke, but Momo quickly clarifies it isn't the case. Akaran manages to pique Momo's interest momentarily, but Jiji steals the spotlight again. Akaran, determined not to be outdone, mentions a shrine dedicated to a kappa. This intrigues Jiji, who then questions whether the cryptid Nessie also exists. Surprisingly, Akaran finds himself engaged in an enjoyable conversation with Jiji, who expresses his respect and admiration for Akaran's knowledge as a friend. Noting how Jiji called him a friend, Akaran awkwardly admits his awkwardness, which causes Momo to blush at the Ken Takakura quote. He then wonders why he finds it so hard to dislike Jiji. Upon arriving at the village, Momo's eyes light up with delight at the sight of the village being a hot springs district. Jiji explains that the hot springs are linked to his father's work studying volcanoes, which is why his family moved to the village. Momo, curious, asks if the village volcano is likely to erupt and is reassured by Jiji that the volcano is dormant and hasn't erupted in about 200 years. After climbing a steep flight of stairs, the trio finally reaches the Enjoji house. Momo, sensing nothing out of the ordinary, suggests taking some time to rest. While also being exhausted from the walk, Akaran notices something in the woods but dismisses his uneasiness as Momo requests for him to head inside. Unbeknownst to Momo, Akaran, and Jiji, a group of people stand observing them from the shadows of the forest. After scouring the house for any signs of paranormal activity, Momo concludes that the ghost must be hiding due to its weak spirit energy, making it hard for her to detect, which was a sign for her that eliminating it will be easy. She then decides to visit the hot springs in the meantime and leaves Akaran with Jiji, with the latter inviting Akaran to play a game of soccer with him. As Akaran learns how to kick the ball around by Jiji, Jiji casually asks if he has feelings for Momo, much to his shock. Akaran responds that he respects her, which leads Jiji to point out all the things he likes about Momo. This sparks a friendly debate between them about who likes Momo more. Meanwhile, Momo relaxes at the hot spring, wondering if Akaran is getting along with Jiji as his first male friend. Unbeknownst to her, a few men are secretly peeking at her. After Jiji attempts to choke Akaran to have him admit defeat, Akaran interrupts their argument when he informs Jiji that he notices a mysterious structure connected to the house. At the hot spring, Momo starts to feel lightheaded and decides it's time to get out. Just as she's about to leave, a group of men enters and informs Momo that the hot springs is a mixed bath as said on the rusted sign. While blocking her path, one of the men begins to talk about gators, claiming they often show up in hot springs to target women, which prompts him and his colleagues to act as such by slowly closing in on Momo. Momo attempts to summon her powers to defend herself but finds herself too lightheaded, and is quickly grabbed by the hands and pushed down into the water, making her unable to fight back. Grabbing a sledgehammer, Gigi breaks through the wall and discovers a room filled with talismans, much to him and Akaran's shock that hints to them that there is a deeper secret within the house. That concludes the anime recap. As always, if you enjoyed, let me know down below, and I'm out.